There wasn't always a Lutheran East and West. In the beginning, there was one. One school, established by a bunch of Lutheran churches from around the city of Cleveland. The man to become principal of this school, Dr. Erwin F. Sagehorn, a God-fearing man from Nebraska. In 1948, he led nearly 50 freshmen into Lutheran high school for the very first time. Under his leadership, alongside God's plan, this school would continue to grow and thrive throughout the years. Until one fateful day in the mid-50s, when the state of Ohio told the school that they'd be seizing the property to build the Inner Belt Freeway. But sometimes, God closes one door so he can open another. And in this case, he opened two doors. The administration saw this as a blessing. When the downtown school was closed, two new schools were opened, in Lutheran East and Lutheran West. In the last years of the 1950s, Lutheran West would begin its education in Rocky River, Ohio. On the other side of town, Lutheran East would open its doors in Cleveland Heights. In the 1960s, student enrollment would increase as well as student successes at both schools. In the classrooms, students were able to learn under the direction and mentorship of dedicated Christian educators. Outside the classroom, the schools would have early on success in their athletic programs. Students competed in sports such as track, baseball, football, and basketball. In the first year of the 70s, Lutheran East enrollment reached an all-time high with 435 students. In the same year, the Falcons captured their first state athletic title, earned in the sport of track and field. Coach Karen Whitrock, the namesake of West Main Gymnasium, blazed the trail for women's athletics at Lutheran West, leading the women's basketball team to decades of success. Most importantly, students were able to grow their relationships with the Lord throughout their time spent at the schools, surrounded by a strong Christian community. They do say it takes a village to raise a kid.
We came this close, several different years, just that close to being closed forever.
In 2003, enrollment at Lutheran East had reached a low. There were less than 100 students enrolled. The question of whether it was financially viable to keep Lutheran East open was raised, and the board found themselves in a meeting to determine whether to close the school. It was an uncertain time for Lutheran East. But through it all, so many people in the Falcon community remained steadfast and faithful, believing that God's plan for the ministry of Lutheran East would become clear.
And they gave their reasons why we had to close the school. And then two people spoke why it should stay open. And then they said, now for the next 30 minutes, anybody in the audience who wants to come forward, form a line over here, and you'll have a chance to say a few words. And all of a sudden, 50, 60 people stood up in that line. One by one, they gave their reasons why close it or not close it. And when it got to the end of that 30 minutes, the line was still 50 people. People kept getting up. Finally, they said, okay, we got to end this. We're going to be here all night. And all that time, I think 4 or 5 people said, yes, close the school. And the other 80 people said, don't close the school. There were pastors, there were teachers, there were alumni, there were students, there were parents. Don't close the school. Finally, they said, okay, we got to vote on this. Well, I don't have to tell you how the vote went. It was overwhelming. Don't close the school.
And so the association forged its path forward with the two schools. Rocky River, the future of Lutheran West was also unfolding.
I look at Lutheran West the way it was in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s when I was here. And I think of the old facility, and I think how great we did here and how the teachers struggled with the little bit we had, but still offered a great education. They gave their careers and their lives teaching us here. And I see what we've grown to and how far we've come. These beautiful facilities and the staff we have and leadership. And I see the growing student base, the student body that we have. And I just think it's something we have to continue to nurture and grow. And that our forefathers, I think mortgaged their homes to buy the land and build these buildings. We ought to be able to do that much ourselves, but put a little addition.
The support of faithful donors to several capital campaigns over the decades allowed for the physical expansion of the building. During the 2000s, West added programs like the Senianos Academy and added facility upgrades like the Yoakum Performing Arts Center, the Engineering Lab, and Alumni Field. Psalms chapter 100, verse 5. For the Lord is good, his mercy is everlasting, and his truth endureth to all generations. The past decade has seen incredible growth and stability in student enrollment at both schools. At Lutheran East, the student population is now 359 students. At West, a total of 679 students in grades 6 through 12. That's over 1,000 students hearing the Word of God every day. For anyone who has been involved with and who loves our schools, it's been remarkable to see the success that God has bestowed upon our students and programs. Students excel academically, being blessed to be set up for success in college and career. Both schools now have an honors academy and celebrate the graduation of Longhorns and Falcons every May. Athletically, both schools have seen success and growth throughout the years. Accomplishments, records, and championships are exciting, but they're gained through Christian servant leadership, hard work, perseverance, and sportsmanship. The value that student athletes learn while in Longhorn and Falcon uniforms carry them throughout their lives. While Lutheran West and Lutheran East occasionally come together to compete on the field or on the court, at the end of the day, the schools come together as a part of the CLHSA community. Creatively, students at East and West are exploring their God-given talents and discovering their passions. They're artists, singers, musicians, dancers, and actors. It's a blessing to our entire community to see young people express themselves through the arts. Spiritually, students are able to grow in ways beyond what they could have envisioned when they first entered our schools. During what may be the most formative years of their lives, students are encouraged to develop and deepen their relationship with God. And they are taught to live out that faith through Christian discipleship and service to their communities.
Go ahead and put it on there. Singing God's praises. It is the way that we are made.
While the purpose of the Christian communities and the high schools that they foster has remained the same throughout the years, there have also been exciting changes happening at Lutheran West and Lutheran East. Lutheran East is being transformed physically through the Faith and Future Capital campaign. When someone drives down Mayfield Road now, they can't help but notice the home of the Falcons. Its interior is more modern and comfortable, with full building air conditioning and brand new windows. Lutheran West is undergoing the largest facility expansion in school history, adding 30,000 square feet of space to the building. When the Forward in Faith Capital campaign is complete, Lutheran West will have more classroom space, new STEM labs, a modern music room, a video production studio, and more, with the capacity for 900 students in grades 6 through 12. I am one person, but I am one person in an incredible puzzle of Lutheran high schools in Cleveland, and I'm blessed and humbled to be a part of it. I was a kid from the inner city. 4 years ago, I chose this community, for better or worse. This decision would prove to impact my life forever. I am a product of this loving Christian community, and shortly after graduation, I surrendered. In my research for this film, I came across the yearbook from the Lutheran High School in 1952. I opened the book to find the dedication and was amazed at how it describes the faithful work done to establish Lutheran High School and how it rings true to this day. To you, the men and women who made Lutheran High a reality, realizing that you wish to leave a rich heritage of Lutheranism in your city. To you whose faith in this glorious undertaking has not been shaken, even in the face of adverse circumstances. To you who lived in your faith, who made a dream come true for the youth of Cleveland now, and in the distant future, God willing, through diligent prayer, consistent encouragement, and the generous gifts of time and financial support. To you, our Christian friends who sacrificed to build Lutheran High, we, the students of this school, gratefully dedicate this book.